Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're going to do a deep dive today, and it's about a strategy for success that might seem a little counterintuitive at first.
Yeah.
Playing dumb,
Interesting.
right? You
Yeah.
heard that, right? Sometimes holding back a bit, not showing all your cards right away,
hmm
can actually give you an unexpected edge.
It is fascinating, isn't it? We're often told that to get ahead, we need to be the loudest voice in the room, the one with all the answers.
Right.
But what if there's a different, more subtle path
Yeah.
to achieving our goals?
Okay, so let's dive into this. When we talk about playing dumb,
Yeah.
we're not talking about actual ignorance.
Absolutely not. No, no. It's more about
Okay.
choosing your moments strategically.
Uh-huh.
Think of it like a skilled martial artist.
Okay.
They don't go around showing off their every move, right?
Right.
They conserve their energy, assess their opponent, and then strike with precision when the opportunity arises.
So there's an element of surprise involved. You're catching people off guard, exceeding their expectations
Absolutely.
because they may have initially underestimated you.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's about understanding the power of perception.
Okay.
If you come in guns blazing, trying to dominate every conversation, you might trigger defensiveness in others.
Right.
But if you present yourself as someone who is open to learning, willing to listen, you can create a more collaborative
Yeah,
and ultimately more successful dynamic.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's about disarming people, putting them at ease,
Right.
and building trust before you make your move.
Exactly. And this ties into another crucial aspect of this strategy,
Okay.
the power of silence.
Hmm.
We live in a world that often rewards those who speak the most,
Right.
but there's immense value in knowing when to hold back,
Yeah.
to observe, and to truly listen to what others have to say.
You're gathering information, observing people's reactions, and ultimately gaining a deeper understanding of the situation
Right.
before you reveal your own hand.
And there's a saying that really captures this. Yeah. Wise men speak because they have something to say, fools because they have to say something.
It's about quality over quantity, making your words count when you do choose to speak.
Now, this doesn't mean you should never express your opinions or share your ideas.
Sure.
It's about choosing your moment strategically. Sometimes the most powerful move is to let others believe they are in control, to guide them subtly towards your desired outcome.
So you're almost leading from behind, planting seeds of thought and allowing them to blossom on their own.
Exactly. It's a delicate dance, but when done effectively, it can be incredibly persuasive.
Okay.
Think about how a skilled parent might guide their child,
Yeah.
or a seasoned manager might steer their team.
Right.
They don't always dictate every step. They create the conditions for success, offering gentle nudges along the way.
And this approach can be particularly useful when dealing with people who have strong egos
Yeah.
or are resistant to change. You're respecting their dignity, allowing them to save face while still subtly influencing their actions.
It's about avoiding unnecessary confrontation,
Right.
protecting their pride, which in turn can actually make them more receptive to your ideas in the long run.
This is all starting to make a lot of sense to me. It's not about being manipulative and deceitful.
Right.
It's about using your intelligence, strategically understanding human psychology, and playing the long game.
And there's another benefit to this approach that often gets overlooked.
Right.
By not constantly seeking the spotlight,
Yeah.
by not feeling the need to prove yourself all the time.
Right.
You create space for personal growth and development.
So instead of putting all your energy into outward appearances, you're focusing on honing your skills, deepening your knowledge, and building your confidence behind the scenes.
Think of it like an athlete training for a big competition. They don't go out and try to break records every single day.
Right.
They put in the work, they practice, they refine their technique, and then when the time is right, they unleash their full potential.
So you're saying there's a certain wisdom in laying low, not revealing your full hand until you're truly ready to make an impact.
That's right. And it's not just about personal growth. This approach can also be incredibly valuable in a professional setting. Imagine you're in a meeting where everyone is vying for attention, trying to impress the boss. If you come in and immediately start spouting off all your ideas, you might come across as arrogant or insecure.
You could even end up alienating people, especially if your ideas challenge the status quo or threaten their sense of expertise.
Exactly. But if you take a step back, listen carefully to what others are saying, and then offer your insights strategically, you'll make a much stronger impression. It shows you're thoughtful, that you value collaboration, and that you're not just interested in hearing yourself talk.
So it's about being a discerning listener, choosing your moments to contribute in a way that's both impactful and respectful.
And, this approach can also be incredibly helpful in negotiations. If you come across as too eager or desperate, you're likely to get a worse deal. But if you play it cool, act a little less interested, you might be surprised at how much leverage you gain.
It's almost like you're subtly shifting the power dynamic, making the other party work harder to win you over.
Precisely. Think about it this way. If someone is trying to sell you something and you seem completely unfazed, they're going to have to sweeten the deal to get your attention.
So you're not being dishonest, you're just being strategic about how you present yourself. You're letting the other person do more of the talking, revealing their hand, while you gather information and assess your options.
And this principle can apply to all sorts of negotiations, from buying a car to asking for a raise to even navigating tricky situations in your personal relationships.
Speaking of personal relationships, this idea of playing dumb seems like it could be a bit of a minefield in that context.
Well, it certainly requires a delicate touch, but the underlying principles still apply. Think about it when you're first getting to know someone. It can be tempting to try to impress them, to show off all your best qualities. But sometimes that can backfire.
It's like you're trying too hard putting on a performance instead of just being yourself. And people can usually sense that, can't they?
Absolutely. They can smell the inauthenticity a mile away. But if you approach the situation with a bit more humility, if you're genuinely curious about the other person, you're more likely to create a genuine connection.
So instead of dominating the conversation, you're asking questions, listening attentively, and making the other person feel heard and understood.
Exactly. And sometimes the best way to make someone feel comfortable is to make them feel like they are the smartest person in the room.
Interesting. So you're not actually trying to diminish yourself, you're just creating a space for the other person to shine.
And in doing so, you're building trust, rapport, and ultimately a stronger foundation for the relationship.
This reminds me of something we talked about earlier, the idea of leading from behind. It's not about suppressing your own intelligence. It's about channeling it in a way that empowers others and creates a more harmonious dynamic.
That's a great connection. And, this principle applies not just to romantic relationships, but to friendships, family dynamics, and even professional collaborations.
So whether you're dealing with a difficult colleague, a demanding boss, or a stubborn partner, this approach can help you navigate those tricky situations with more grace and effectiveness.
Exactly. It's about understanding that true strength lies not in always being right or always being in control, but in knowing when to step back, to listen, and to allow others to take the lead.
This has been incredibly insightful. I'm
Mhm.
starting to see how this idea of playing dumb can actually be a sign of deep intelligence and emotional maturity. It's about choosing your battles wisely, knowing when to assert yourself and when to take a more subtle approach.
And ultimately, it's about achieving your goals in a way that benefits not just yourself, but also the people around you. It's about building win-win situations where everyone feels respected and valued.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the art of playing dumb, I think the big question on everyone's mind is, when is this strategy actually appropriate?
Mm.
Because let's be honest, there are definitely situations where it could backfire spectacularly.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. Context is key.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to play dumb during a medical emergency or when presenting a complex scientific theory where precision and expertise are paramount.
Right. It's about being discerning, recognizing when this approach can be an asset and when it might be a liability.
Think of it like this. It's all about reading the room, understanding the unspoken rules and power dynamics at play.
Okay.
If you're in a situation where assertiveness and directness are valued, then playing dumb might be interpreted as weakness or incompetence.
But in situations where collaboration diplomacy or subtle persuasion are key, this approach can be incredibly effective.
Exactly. It's about adapting your style to the specific context, being flexible and responsive to the nuances of the situation.
So how do we develop this sense of discernment? How do we know when to play dumb and when to let our intelligence shine?
It's a skill that develops over time with practice and observation.
Okay.
Pay attention to how people respond to different communication styles.
Mhm.
Notice when holding back can actually give you more influence, and when being more assertive is necessary to get your point across.
So it's about becoming a student of human behavior, understanding the subtle cues and signals that can guide our interactions.
Precisely. And it's also about being self-aware, understanding our own strengths and weaknesses, and how they might be perceived by others. Sometimes playing dumb can be a way to disarm people who might feel threatened by our intelligence or expertise.
It's almost like you're leveling the playing field, creating a sense of equality that can foster more open and productive communication.
That's a great way to put it. And, this approach can also be a powerful tool for personal growth. By letting go of the need to always be right, to always be the smartest person in the room, we open ourselves up to new perspectives and possibilities.
It's about embracing humility, recognizing that we don't have all the answers and that there's always something new to learn.
And in doing so, we become more approachable, more relatable, and ultimately more effective in our interactions with others.
So maybe the real secret to success isn't about proving how smart we are, but about using our intelligence strategically, knowing when to step back, when to listen, and when to let others shine.
I think you've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that true wisdom lies not in always having the right answer, but in knowing how to ask the right questions.
This has been a truly fascinating conversation. I'm definitely going to be more mindful of how I approach different situations and interactions going forward.
That's what we hope for, to leave you with some new ideas to ponder and some fresh perspectives to explore.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into the art of playing dumb. Remember, it's not about being ignorant or manipulative. It's about using your intelligence in a more subtle and strategic way.
It's about choosing your moments, wisely observing the dynamics at play, and adapting your approach to achieve the best possible outcome.
Thanks for joining us on this journey of intellectual discovery. We'll see you next time with another thought-provoking deep dive.